I'm going to describe how to place camera traps, which is where you're placing the camera on a known travelling route of an animal. In this case, we're going to be setting the cameras up for free-roaming dogs, foxes and feral cats. And we're going to focus our effort on putting the camera along a track or a trail. And we don't want to attract the animal to anything, we just want to detect the animal as it's walking down the track or the trail. So, having read your manual and decided on your settings, you need to then place the camera in the right location, understanding how your passive infrared sensor works for your particular model camera. Now, the Department of Primary Industry standard method for monitoring predators is to place cameras on trails at 1 kilometre intervals. Now, we're going to place cameras just off the side of the road, and we're going to face the camera down the track so that the animal walking down the trail will trigger the bands in the passive infrared sensor as the animal moves across the field of view in the detection zone. So in this case here, we're going to use this particular camera here, which is the one that we're all using consistently so we get the same information. Soon we're going to have to all move over to the new model because this camera has now been replaced by this one. But for demonstration purposes, we'll use this camera here, the HC600. Now we've set this one up so that it's taking 10 photos, it's on rapid fire, and there's no delay between images. So that way we're making sure that we've got the most amount of time for the animal to move across the field of view and the detection zone and get as many possible photos as possible to confirm the identification. I'm going to use a bracket on a post. This could be a steel peg, whatever you do, make it consistent. The important thing for dogs, foxes and cats is that the camera, and in particular the Fresnel lens, is 50 centimetres above ground. Now, our trials have shown that that is the best height for getting the heat signature of the animal to contrast with the background temperature behind the detection zone. So I'm just going to attach this to my post. Remember to make sure the illuminator's on the top and the Fresnel lens is on the bottom. 50 centimetres high above the ground. The other thing about placing these cameras on trails is that you need to ensure that the direction of travel of the animal coming down the trail is going to cross through the different zones on the passive infrared sensor. So we've come up with a fairly easy way of deciding on that direction, and that is to go 23 degrees to the road direction. And the way we do that is we just grab a stick and we're going to run a line parallel to the road, and then we do a 90-degree angle. We halve that, which is 45, and then we go 23, halve that again, that's 23 degrees, which means that my camera has to face out in that direction. So I'm going to align my camera in that way, and then we're going to focus the center of the detection zone 5 to 6 meters in front of the camera. So from here we've got the direction right. I'm now going to walk out 5 to 6 meters, and that will be where I focus my camera. I'm going to do it visually first, and then I'm going to use the walk test function of this camera to see whether I'm triggering the passive infrared sensor. It's essentially what that does, it turns the camera off and just says, just work on the passive infrared sensor to tell me if you can see me or not. And then I'm going to lock it all into place and arm the camera. So I'm just going to measure 6 meters out from here. And that looks good to me with the gradient of the road. So I'm ready to arm the camera. So I'm just going to turn the walk test function on, and what this does is it doesn't take any photographs, it'll just trigger the PIR to make sure that the animal walking past is in the right location. Now that will flash when I turn it on. Just to ensure that I'm getting the best detection is I've got a nice bland background, so the temperature coming back to the camera is fairly consistent with forest, and then I'm hoping that my animal walking in front is going to trigger that. Now I'm just going to trigger the camera by having an animal walk past the front of the camera. Now the next thing to do is to, once you've visually checked that it's in the right location and you've run an animal or yourself past it, is now we're going to take some photos and make sure that the camera is set up properly in aspect and backdrop. So it's now taken 10 photos. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my camera off. Remember to turn the camera off when you're taking batteries and SD cards out. Now you can use any number of systems available to you for checking what's on your card. You can use existing point and push cameras. You can buy special adapters. I just use a notepad because it gives me a nice big image. And I'm just going to check that that photo has worked well and make sure that my alignment in relation to the field of view and the backdrop is pretty good, because I can imagine, because I know how the zones work on the camera, I can superimpose that onto the image here and make sure that the animal's going right through the area that is looking for the differential between the background temperature and the animal temperature. And that looks really good to me, so I'm going to now reset the camera, put my card back in, turn the camera back on. It's really important that you remember to arm the camera. When you're setting up cameras, it's really easy to get lost and go through all that process and then forget to turn the camera back on. So what I do is when I'm ready to arm the camera, I verbally say that I've armed the camera, and then you know, especially if you're working with a partner, that it's all ready to go. The red light will flash telling you that the camera is armed. It'll then go off, and that camera is now armed and ready to collect data.